Go.
Okay. Thomas Jefferson once said, when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. Because I agree with I from the resolution resolved in the United States criminal justice system to nullification not to be used in the face of perceived injustice. Observation 1, definitions. To clarify the resolution, I offer the following definitions. According to the Criminal Justice Career Center, the United States criminal justice system is an extremely large and diverse system of interconnected agencies working together to uphold the social systems and laws by preventing crimes and enforce laws, provide oversight in matters of guilt and innocence, and issue penalties to those found guilty of committing crimes. Jury nullification occurs when the members of the jury believe that to find the defendant guilty would be unfair, as defined by Psychology Dictionary. Ought is defined as advisability by Merriam-Webster's Dictionary. Also defined by Merriam-Webster's Dictionary, perceive is to notice or become aware of. Black's Law Dictionary defines injustice as withholding or denial of justice. Observation 2, the value and criterion. The eye for this debate is morality, which is an informal public system whose goal is the lessening of evil, as defined by the Cambridge Dictionary of Philosophy. Since the resolution is asking us if it is moral to nullify a perceived injustice, this is the best value for this debate. The judge should be voting an affirmation if the act can prove that jury nullification is moral or lessens evil. The burden of the negative is to prove that jury nullification does not lessen evil. The criterion is liberty, which Lord John Acton defined as the right of being able to do what we ought. This explains the right we have to do good. Liberty fulfills morality through giving us the right to be moral. Convention 1. Jurors have moral right and duty to nullify laws in the United States. Subpoint A. Jury nullification is a founding principle of the United States. As Glenn Reynolds, professor of law at University of Tennessee, stated, to the framers of our Constitution, jury nullification was itself a feature, not a bag. Distrustful of the bureaucracy and even of the judiciary, framing Americans viewed a jury's refusal to convict as an important protection for liberty. Through this, we can see that the founding fathers, heroes of America today, believed in and supported jury nullification as a protector of liberty. They also held jurors accountable to this duty. The Cato Institute states, the founding fathers believed that juries in criminal trials had a role to play as the conscience of the community and relied on jury nullification to hold the government to the principles of the Constitution. It is not only a juror's right, but his primary and paramount duty to find the verdict according to his own best understanding, judgment, and conscience, though in direct opposition to the instruction of the court. John Adams wrote, jurors are necessary to preserving liberty as shown. Subpoint B. Jurors are a check on the government to preserve morality and liberty on which our country is based. As John Adams stated, our country is made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Attorney David VID00001 said, it is not only a juror's right, but their primary and paramount duty to judge the justice of the law. If a jury is not empowered to do that duty, they are no longer a meaningful barrier against the tyranny and oppression of the government. Justice is not blind, and our scales are too often tipped in the government's favor. Jury nullification, a generally democratic instrument for protecting the rights of the accused, can help even the balance. The United States federal courts state the Sixth Amendment permits a jury to disregard a defendant's confession and still find him not guilty. This confession does not depend on when the confession occurs or how much the defendant confesses. A defendant's confession merely amounts to more, albeit compelling evidence against him, but no amount of compelling evidence can override the right to have a jury determine his guilt. People in this country have a duty to be moral and uphold values. They can do this through jury nullification. This upholds the value of liberty and causes the lessening of evil. Convention 2. Jurors through jury nullification are able to more fully exercise liberty and through that value. And the jurors oath you pledge that you will give a true verdict. As injustices affect the verdict, you must take them into account. Historically, jury nullification has led to justice and corrected perceived injustice. The prosecutor Aaron McKnight states, prime examples of this category are acquittals of abolitionists who are accused under the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. More recent examples include acquittals of defendants accused of violating prohibition laws in the 1920s. In these examples, the juries were acquitted simply because they did not agree with the law. By exercising morality and liberty, jurors were able to affect the United States for the better. Contention 3. If jurors could not nullify laws, there would be no point in having a jury. Jurors under the eye of liberty have a right to do what they ought. The purpose of jurors is explained by Journalist Molly Kavanaugh. The right to a trial by jury is meant to be part of the system of checks and balances during the power of the state. You could call it political or you could call it constitutional, but the right of jurors to establish justice is deeply embedded in the Constitution. This Tim Lynch states another purpose for jurors. Jury nullification is part of the checks and balances in our constitutional system. Just as the pardon powers used by governors and the president, jurors have the power to bring back acquittals. As we can see, jurors are important. If we do not allow jury nullification, we show that the juror's opinion does not matter by not listening to it. Judge David L. Beslon explains why we trust juries. Trust in the jury is, after all, one of the cornerstones of our entire criminal jurisprudence, and if that trust is without foundation, it must be examined a great deal more than just the nullification doctrine. If we do not trust in the jury, we must reevaluate our entire justice system and rely on another power. Who can say that that power would be moral and libertarian? For these reasons, I urge you to vote in affirmation. I am now open to questions. I did not want a whole minute short.
You read your whole case.
No, I did not. I skipped a lot.
Alright.
Okay, not a lot, but a whole
Yeah, I'm
minute.
gonna ask some tough questions.
Okay.
Alright, so in your contention 3, could you read your second line again?
The second.
Your first 3 sentences.
Okay, jurors under the value of liberty have a right to do what they ought. The purpose of jurors is explained by Jonas Malik Heftel. The right to trial by jury is meant to be part of the systems and checks and balances.
Alright, so why do juries have to concede to the value of liberty?
Why do jurors have to concede to the
value of liberty? Why are they applying it?
To be moral?
To be moral?
Yeah.
And your definition of morality is blessing of evil.
Yeah.
So liberty is fulfilled by being moral.
Yeah, since liberty is the right to be moral.
Is morality subjective?
Yes.
So then liberty is subjective.
Yeah. Well, sort of, since it's the right to do what it is.
That's a tough question. It's a pretty good one. Let's see. Alright, second of all, what's your definition of evil?
Evil. And injustice.
What's the definition of injustice?
You tell me whose value is justice. Well, injustice is something that causes harm to a member of society.
And you believe this is just for you? And this is your definition?
This is a definition of justice then.
Yeah. Alright. So, do you truly, what is your firm opinion on what you believe? Do you really believe juries should be able to nullify laws?
Yes, they definitely should be able to nullify laws.
Is that your personal opinion?
That is my personal opinion, it is.
Alright. And what was your criterion for this one?
Liberty.
Liberty, that's right. And your value is morality.
Mm-hmm.
And how does liberty fulfill morality?
Because liberty is the right to do what we ought or what is wrong.
Your morality is
You
Go!
can
Go! Go! Anyway, no, and boss sex to begin my case. Alright. Here we go.
You was that.
Alright. In the criminal justice system, objectivity is the key to ensuring that justice is applied equally to all citizens. Therefore, I must strongly negate the resolutions in the United States criminal justice system. Jury nullification ought to be used in the face of perceiving justice. I base this case on the value of justice. Justice has and always will be based on the objectivity of law. The role of the jury is a just society to determine the law has been broken. A society should be consistent in applying the laws through the evaluation of evidence. Jurors should not be vigilantes, applying justice at their own personal value system dictates. A defendant should never have to worry if justice will be served based on personal attitudes of jury. My criterion for this round is pragmatism. Pragmatism is the way to assess the value of an action through the successful of the practical application. I will show that practical application of jury nullification in cases perceived injustice leads to injustice. Contention 1. The use of jury nullification is used to promote injustice. History shows that jury nullification has been used to promote injustice. As we see in the example of Emmett Till in 1955, as the white man who was killed for being too kind to a young woman. Also in Tetlow 2010, another man who was again not enacted and justice was not caused to him because of this. Subpoint B, all juries are inherently biased. Implicit, Robert 2012, and Professor of Law. Implicit biases are discriminatory biases based on the either implicit attitude to feeling that one has about a particular group of implicit stereotypes, traits that associate with a particular group. They are also subtle to those who hold them may not realize that they do. Implicit biases operate in areas such as gender, nationality, and social status, but strong levels of implicit racist bias relating to African Americans. The idea that we as a nation are beyond these practices of racial prejudices is naive at best. People may claim to be free of prejudices, but unfortunately our biases are hidden often from ourselves. These hidden biases lead to good people making poor decisions in case of jury nullification. Their perception of that or correcting the injustices that only serving their own hidden prejudice. It's contention 2, a perceived injustice is most likely only perceived an injustice by the one group of people. Recent events surrounding the police brutality towards minorities is a motivation enough that white juries feel to charge of brutality are an injustice and therefore promote the use of jury nullification. Black juries might be quick to nullify a case involving a defendant charged with misconduct while protesting such actions. Furthermore, some juries might not be willing to uphold recent controversial. Also, there are also pro-life juries who include nullify based on these. The actions of juries the past as well as the potential for juries to misuse nullification to promote a personal agenda leads to anarchy within the courtroom. The law has no value in such an environment. Perceived injustice is never an injustice agreed upon in the community as a whole. If we agreed to be an injustice, that it wouldn't be perceived, and most likely the law would already conform to the accepted standards of American people. So now I will be going over my opponent's case. So my opponent clearly stated in the first part of his round that if I can prove that if jury nullification greatens evil, I automatically win this round, so thus we must cancel out everything in this case except for that, and that is what the grounds of this case will thus be on. So now I'm going to attack that. First of all, I'd like to bring up that he clearly stated that morality and liberty are subjective, except for liberty apparently is not, even though it is linked to morality. Thus we cannot look to this and thus we must look to the neg because of this. I also asked him what his definition of lessening evil is, and as again, it is subjective, and as I clearly state in my case, everyone is biased. Thus, this is greatening evil, as I have listed over 3 cases of this being possible, and how there are plenty of biases in my third contention, which he cannot shut down. So in order for him to win, he is going to have to shut down my contention 3, contention 1, and subpoint B. Oh, I mean second contention. Subpoint B. Thirdly, I would like to attack based on. So I'm just going to focus on that simply that the lessening of evil is clearly subjective, and because of this, we cannot even he loses the round entirely because as he conceded in cross-ex that it is subjective, and since it is subjective that it clearly fits into my case, so that the opponent is clearly arguing in the negative perspective. So we must vote neg on these grounds. So since I have clearly destroyed what he said the entire value of this round should be on, I must win automatically since he has to defeat over 3 of my contentions value criterion. All he has is that one point because as he clearly made. So vote neg because I'm actually solving for justice and he's only solving for liberty. Thank you.
Okay, what is your definition of justice?
I already did that. I'll give it to you again. Right here. Alright. I base the value of justice. Justice has and always must be based on the objectivity of law.
What does that mean?
Following laws given by the people.
So following the law. So
given
basically,
the
law is the justice. So if we
the law is the people, and the people make the justice. But as I continue forward, the role of a jury in a just society is to determine if a law has been broken. So it is not if a law is unjust, but if a law is broken, and that's what we need to be focused on.
Wait, so what is justice? Like in your own words, define justice.
Well, justice is making sure that laws aren't broken.
So justice is like the law.
Justice is making sure that the law is not broken, and that's the jury's job.
The law. Okay, the law is already broken if they're in court.
Yeah, but now they're doing court procedures.
Okay, would you agree that justice is subjective?
Huh? No.
No? Okay, so you think justice is law, but I think justice is getting everyone what she...
Yes, which goes against your case and fits in mine.
Yeah, how do you even get that? How did you...
You're at New Cross X?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, first I'd like to go over my opponent's attack. Now he only attacked the fact that morality and liberty are subjective, but as we can see that his definition of justice is like the law, and my definition is getting each what he is due. Justice is also subjective, so these attacks also fall against him. Now, my case does not really fit into his case, but my entire case is based around the idea that jury nullification is okay to use, and his entire case is based around the idea that it is not okay to use. So if he fits my case into his, that totally compromises his own case. So now that we've found that he did not attack anything except my value and criterion about being subjective as his are too, we are off your guess. Now I will attack his case. Now, as stated before, his value of justice is also subjective, and if he defines it as like making sure the law is not broken, what if a law is unjust? Then, even if it's unjust, then it is justice to have that law applied. Like as we can see through slavery in the United States, that law is unjust, and we can't, if under his rule of justice, that would be just. So we can see like, if you are voting for the neg, you are voting for the idea that any law is automatically just because it was made by the people. Now, his contention one about how it promotes injustices and jurors are biased. Well, first of all, everyone is biased no matter what. Like, everyone in the entire world is biased, so it doesn't really matter that jurors are biased because everyone who would ever make a decision is always biased, so it doesn't matter. Now, that it promotes injustice, I would say yes, it can promote injustice. It can also promote justice, and I would say that with 12 people on a jury, it is more likely that it will be used to promote justice than injustice. And now his second contention that just a group of people, what is unjust is likely only unjust to one group of people. Well, as I said before, that just shows that justice is subjective, since some people see it as just and unjust. So that weakens his value further. And also, if there are 12 people on a jury, they all have to agree that the law is unjust. So it doesn't really matter that only one people will see it, because there will be 12 different people from 12 different cultures and 12 different backgrounds. So for these reasons, I urge you to vote no.
Alright. I'm going to immediately be defending my case. Alright, so I would like to go over the point that he attacks my value criterion and has been completely gone no void of my attacks, because I am simply basing his entire case on what he said, that if I can prove that it is greatening evil, then I can win, and thus, as I've already shown with my 3 examples, which he did not touch in his last rebuttal, and since he cannot bring up any more new evidence, I immediately win on the grounds of his own case. And also, when I was bringing in the subjectivity, he is imposing his own values upon mine, because I have clearly given grounds on what justice is. He's simply saying that it is subjective, which is his definition, which clearly goes against his own case, and thus it fits into mine, which is what I am exactly saying. So we must look to the negative, and thus his attacks on my value criterion falls. He then goes under attacks my contention 1 with the argument that 12 juries have to agree on it, but as he already agreed with my subpoint B that all juries are biased, yes, and that's why they would be unjust in the ruling, and thus 12 people are always going to be biased, thus justice will not be fulfilled, and thus we need to make justice as blind as possible and as fair as possible, and we want it to be at least biased. Although it is impossible to get rid of biases, we must strive to be as unbiased as possible. As we see in my opponent's case, he does not solve for this, so in conclusion, since my value criterion still stands and my opponent's case it falls and fits under mine based on the cross-ex questions, we must vote for negative, because I truly solve for justice, and since he cannot bring up any more evidence, I immediately win the round based on that. Thank you.
Okay. So, my opponent said a lot of stuff that didn't really make sense, because he's in all of my attacks fall because I'm imposing my definitions on him, even though, like, justice is subjective, because I very well define it differently than he does, or anyone else in any place. They all will define it differently, but that somehow makes my case fit under his. Now, he does not attack any of my points that prove that jury nullification lessens evil, but he still says he wins because he has proven that it creates evil, even though he doesn't attack anything I say about how it lessens evil. Therefore, you can still fold that all across and that's still prove the case. And as I have actually attacked his case and shown why it won't create more evil, then I win this round. So, forward again. My 3 points to stand, and everyone is biased. No matter what we do, no matter what the jurors do, everyone will still be biased. And so, even if jurors are biased, then there's no way to solve that. And 12 people are going to be less biased than 1. And it can promote injustice, but it is also more likely to be used to promote justice, since there are 12 people and all 12 must agree. And it is very highly unlikely that they will all agree that to lessen evil will be to promote injustice. And then his contention too about how everyone has different justices. That just goes to show that his criterion is subjective and it weakens his own case because he wants us to believe that justice is the best value, but everyone has different measures of justice and they are all very different and cannot be set by any bounds, unlike morality where we can be set by the bounds of the majority. Like the majority would say that murder is bad, or in a democracy, whereas in a democracy, like Hitler could not happen.
He brought up new evidence!
I'm so enough for time. Thank you.